A new NBC News poll shows dwindling trust in President Trump's handling of pocketbook issues. On Trump's handling of inflation and the cost of living, 39% of Americans approve, while 61% disapprove. 45% say inflation and the cost of living is the most important economic issue right now. And 59% disapprove of Trump's handling of trade and tariffs as the White House tees up a Supreme Court fight after an appeals court struck down Trump's tariffs.
We would have to give a refund on about half the tariffs, which would be terrible for the Treasury.
And you're prepared to give those refunds?
Well, I mean, there's no be prepared. If the court says it, we'd have to do it.
Molly and Mark are back with me. So, Molly, voters used to think the economy was Trump's superpower. What changed?
I mean, Liberation Day, right? Look, I was heartened to see a member of Trump's cabinet say they have to do something the courts told them to do. I mean, that's a refreshing change. No, look, everyone said this is going to be inflationary, right? If you don't do tariffs with the scalpel, it's going to be inflationary. And so here we have tariffs that are basically based on Donald Trump's mood. So sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low, sometimes they're on India, sometimes, there's no thought for, it's not thought out. There's not this idea that you would make a deal with Canada and Mexico first because they're your largest trading partners and then go forward. Some of the ideas, like so many things with Trumpism, some of the ideas are, potentially very good or thoughtful. Clearly, there's a problem with trade in China, but the way that they're implemented are so haphazard and really emotional in a way that you don't want your government acting.
I got to tell you, your line there, at least they have to admit that they have to do something the courts tell them to do. I'm now deeming you a glass half full kind of girl. So, Mark, Scott Bessent confirmed this, that NBC News report today, that the White House is exploring alternative laws the president could use to keep Trump tariffs in place if the Supreme Court strikes them down. Could they be hearing the justices or not on Trump's side on this?
It's unclear what they're hearing, but I mean, the term alternative laws is pretty chilling here. I mean, when the Supreme Court rules
alternative facts, remember that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, that could sort of echo to that. But I mean, It's like, okay, well, the Supreme Court says this, but we're going to look to an alternative law here and do it anyway. I mean, that's a little troubling in some ways. I mean, look, there are a lot of Republicans out there, certainly in Washington that I talk to, elected Republicans who would not in a million years say anything against Donald Trump publicly, but who really think that the Supreme Court or the courts in general could save Donald Trump and by extension today's Republican Party from itself by striking down these tariffs. I mean, they do not like tariffs, a lot of these guys. I mean, they did not earlier. They have not throughout their whole careers. It's very fundamentally against a lot of conservative principles that these people have been espousing for years until Donald Trump came in and said, no, tariffs are the be all and end all for everything. So, I mean, I think they're all over the map here. But look, I mean, this is uncertainty. It is uncertainty. It certainly doesn't look like it's helped the economy or inflation to this point. And if they say that no matter what the Supreme Court says, they're going to explore other mechanisms, I mean, that is uncertain too. And it sort of guarantees more chaos going forward. So I don't think that's reassuring to anyone.
Well, and the fact is that Republicans, by tradition, have always been against raising taxes, and everybody sees the tariffs as being a tax that Americans are having to pay. So, Molly, you have Senator Warner, who was on the talk shows today. He was talking about how extraordinary it was for him to be blocked from a Senate oversight meeting at a spy agency after interference from far-right activist Laura Loomer. How is she allowed to have so much influence?
Look, I just want to go back to the tariffs for 1 second, because I just think this is such an important data point here. The plaintiffs in the tariff case, right, are the surviving Koch brother. It's a group of conservatives, right, Leonard Leo types, who have a real relationship with the court and who are very much, more of the ethos of the traditional Republican Party. So I just think it's quite interesting that, the plaintiff here is brought by a sort of group that brings lawsuits like this. And it really is a sort of Republican versus Republican fight here. So I just think that's really important to see. And I do agree with what Mark said. This is really saving. If they are able to do this, they will really have saved Trump from his worst instincts. As for Laura Loomer, this White House, this administration, even in the first term, always had a very low bar for who they let into the administration, partially because they had trouble getting, at least in the first administration, trouble getting good people. The second administration, they've gotten sort of, the party has become them. But so it's always been very easy to kind of get in Trump's inner circle if you know what to say, which clearly Loomer does. I mean, I think it's interesting that there isn't more of a pushback from Republicans on this because it's so sort of deviates from the norm.
So Mark, last word to you on Laura Loomer. Does she have the power because she has Trump's ear? And do you get a sense that those even around Donald Trump are like, really?
Yeah, I mean, bingo. I mean, that's been happening before. I mean, Laura Loomer has Trump's ear. The second she doesn't, I mean, she will lose pretty much most of, if not all of her power in this administration. There's precedent for this. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene had it for a while. Mike Lindell, the voting machine guy. The pillow guy, that's right, the My Pillow guy. In the first term, I mean, look, so there's a precedent for this. Eventually they fall out of favor. But no, I mean, this power is real, and this is how this White House operates. And it's in some ways very nimble, but it's also, around the whims of one person. Okay. Thanks, you guys, for sticking around through most of this hour. Molly, good to see you, obviously. Mark as well. Thank you.